Welcome back to the shop. So, in a moment of weakness, I ended up with two used pieces of equipment in my shop. Two machines, a table saw and a bandsaw. So I'm always scanning Facebook Marketplace because of my challenge trying to get a woodworking shop for free by buying, selling, and trading. And I saw this ad and it came up on a marketplace and I went, oh, that's cool. So since I suffer from ADOS, which is attention deficit, oh, shiny, I said, okay, I must have. So these things got delivered to my shop by the guy that owned it, and I'll show you what I ended up with and the reason why I ended up buying it. Because at the end of the day, I got a pretty smoking deal on this thing, and it's going to be repurposed into money that can be used into something else. So this is what I picked up. It's a Powermatic contractor saw right there. They call it an artisan saw. And then when I saw it come up on Facebook Marketplace, it was $200. But it came with, ta-da, a bandsaw. And I'm thinking, who's going to get rid of a table saw and a bandsaw for $200? And I'm thinking, okay, well, I have no room in the shop to take these. And then I kept looking, and about a week later, no one took this thing, and then it was priced down to $100. So I said, okay, for $100, it's worth the go. But here was the kicker: when I saw it, the picture that somebody took of it wasn't a really good picture, but all I saw was that Vega, and I knew that there was a company that made these fences. I think they're out of business. I don't think this is being made anymore. And so that got my interest. I'm thinking, okay, well, for $100, that fence is worth more than $100. So I contacted the guy, and he says, yeah, he says, I had to get it out of a storage unit, and I need to get it out now, and it's in the back of my friend's pickup truck, and it either gets sold or it goes to scrap. So I said to him, okay, I'll take it. And I said, would you be willing to drop it off since it's in your pickup truck? So he says yes. So I said, okay, listen, I'll give you an extra $20 for the gas to drive out here. It wasn't too far. And he did that. He dropped it off. So when I got it, there was a switch right there. Well, it was actually this toggle on here. And he said there was something wrong with the switch. Well, when I pulled it out, they had put the terminals all wrong on this thing, so it basically was shorting the thing out. They had, I think it went black on one side and then white on the other side, so that was a bad idea. It should be the other way around. But I don't like those kind of switches anyways. I'd rather have like a little paddle switch. So I had already bought, I think, 4 or 5 of these on Amazon a couple of years ago. So I just quickly switched that out because I like that. Just so you can kick the thing off if you had a problem. But what were some of the other things that were wrong on it? Well, it had this link belt, which if you ever have to buy one of these things, it's not cheap to buy. But it was about, I'd say 6 inches too long. So the motor on the back here was just basically, it was hanging like that, okay? Because it should be, basically, these things should be set for parallel. So that bottom plate there should be parallel. That's how you want to set your belt, because then it puts everything in line in between those two detents right there. So if you're ever doing this, a rule of thumb is try to make that as parallel as possible, because that's how it's going to run properly. The next problem is, well, I put a ruler, a straight edge right across the blade here, and I went below the teeth right there, and then I can measure from the miter slot right there, and it was off by 3/16 of an inch. And I'm going, oh, okay, well that's going to be a serious problem, because I did run a piece of wood into it just to see if it was functioning or not. No, man, it was grinding really badly. Because if you think about it, okay, so if the blade is like this, okay, as you're running that piece of wood, the teeth are like on the back side of the cut are just going to want to just grab that, and it's very dangerous. So if if you got a table saw, make sure that you get your blade parallel with your miter slots. I can't tell you enough how important that is, because even if you're using your miter gauge and you try to cut miters, it'll want to cut on the back side or the front side of your blade as it comes through. So you make it parallel and everything else lines up perfectly from there. So I did that quickly by loosening off these 2 bolts here on the back, and it had just enough play that I was able to pull it this way and then make everything parallel. So that was a very quick, like less than 10 minutes to do that. So right now everything is functioning the way it is. I didn't even have to adjust the fence. I just have to adjust the bar here to make sure that if it's 2 inches, it has to be 2 inches on the cursor right there. But check this out. This, I didn't know anything about these fences, what it can do, but it's got a micro adjust. So you put that down, tighten it down, loosen off your fence, and then there's this little wheel right here. And then you can just micro adjust from there. And then when you find out where you want to be, you lock it down. What an absolutely ingenious feature on that thing. I think that's brilliant. Like if you're doing detail work, I'd say that's pretty well spot on. And the other thing is all the markings there are into 30 seconds. And yeah, that's just a smart thing to do. So all in, I had maybe about a half an hour putting this thing back into working order. And I ripped some pieces through, and it's got a lot of chooch to it. It's even running at 110 volts, and you can switch that out to 220 if you wanted to. But then I got the bandsaw, okay, standard 14-inch bandsaw. It's missing one of the rub blocks here, and it was horribly out of alignment and out of tune like that. So I basically put everything back where I could. I just have to get another one of these blocks. This guide here was flipped the other way. So if you want to take a blade out, you'd have to remove this whole thing and then put it anyway. So I flipped that around, made sure that worked. But then I went back to the switch here and I'm going, okay, well everything is hooked up properly. You know, very similar to that other one where they, they made that mistake on that that unit. But I go, okay, so I turned it on, nothing. Like it was humming. I'm going, okay, there's something wrong. So I know with the humming that there's power going through the switch to the motor, so the switch is fine. And I'm going, okay, well then it's probably the capacitor on the motor right there that's gone. So I have to get that. I have to open that and probably get a new capacitor for that. But at the end of the day, same thing. I'll spend maybe a half an hour getting this thing put together, maybe another hour to do the motor and so on like that. But then you end up with 2 pieces of equipment in your workshop for $120. Okay. I don't need this because I've got lots of other tools that that do a better job than this. So this will be sold. But the nice part about it is this does not end up in scrap. It doesn't end up in a scrap pile. And the best part is some other woodworker is going to get this and they're going to get it fully tuned up. It'll be safe to run and they'll be able to use it for years as a hobby. And that is something that I value. The fact that somebody can automatically use these tools and start working and start producing wooden products to whatever they want. And that excites me a lot. So this is some of the reasons I like doing it. And it's just a challenge. It's just fun to do. It keeps me from watching TV. And it really keeps me engaged and entertained. And the other thing is it sharpens my skill in my shop when I know how to repair all my own tools. Because I can't tell you how important that is when you have a workshop and you can repair your own tools. It's like a farmer. If he can't figure out how to fix his machinery, his tractors himself, That's a lot of extra money that he has to pay somebody to do it. So anyways, I would encourage you, if you're starting a woodworking shop, look for these deals on Facebook Marketplace or wherever you have a link to used tools, and take a look even for maybe about 3 months at trends. What do you see? What do you see? And then go from there. And once you start to see kind of patterns of what things are worth and the values of certain things, purchase one or two of them, and then put it back together the best you can. Because every time you do one, you just get a little bit better. Anyways, hopefully this is helpful, and have a Merry Christmas. Oh, wait a second, this wasn't so merry. Look at the little piece that bust off. Okay, so this was up underneath here, and this is the rub block. It's a round one that goes underneath here. And so I loosen the screw and I give this a little tap in, and then all of a sudden it kind of stops. So I'm tapping it just lightly with the hammer to move it in. And doesn't this piece fall right off? Well, I noticed here as that rub block went through, and that was going through, but right here, right there, this is the screw that is supposed to actually hold the rub block in place. Well, it wasn't bored all the way through. You can see there's still a little bit of a shelf left on here. So as I'm trying to tighten this thing up, it's pushing on this whole block, and doesn't it snap right off? So what I'm going to have to do is get some JB Weld. I'm going to take this thing completely out. Then I'm going to JB Weld the thing back together. I'm going to bore back through here. And then I'm also going to bore through here for the screw to go through, because I want that shoulder gone right there. This should have been drilled all the way through, and then I can re-tap the thing. Anyways, but that's all part of what you have to do to get your tools working, because I am not going to replace that. It's just not worth it on this machine, and I think I can get this thing back working properly with the JB Weld, because if everything is working properly, meaning this thing slides back and forth, there'll be no force put on it. And JB Weld is phenomenal for this kind of thing. Anyways, one more thing to think about. All right, so that's cleaned up. And now I can put this back in place. And what I want to do is make sure that they're nice and flush there on all sides. All I do is just tap it lightly. That way, if anything is, happen to got bent slightly, you want to be able to make sure that it's good and flush all the way around there. And that feels pretty well back to normal. And that way I got a little bit of gap fill that I can do when these pieces match together, because you still want to have some kind of bridge in between, but you want to get them as close as possible. But right now, that's going to be great. So let it dry, bore out here, and then tap this one out so that screw can go all the way through to contact that rub block properly. There we go. Just got two little dots of JB. There we go. Hate the smell of this stuff. It's a little nasty. It's really kind of close to epoxy, I guess. Okay. And I'm not worried about it squeezing on the inside, because I am going to bore that out. There we go. Now here's what's important when you put this on. Okay, you got to feel it for alignment. And I got just a small clamp to go on here. But there, I don't want a lot of pressure on that. Like, I don't want to squeeze all that JB out of the joint. I want it just to sit right there with minimal pressure on it. There's probably maybe 5 pounds on that. But that's basically it right there. I'll let that dry overnight, and morning I can drill that out. Well, a little bit of a change of plans. You can see that was the original bolt hole, and I tried to get it prepped, and when I put the bolt in there, it split and came loose. So I have now filled in that hole. I've re-JB'd this thing, and then I tapped out the top here. So now the adjustment is on the top here, and I think it'll still work. It'll still bypass the blade, so all is good there. But at the end of the day, like I said, I just want to get this thing functioning and get it repaired. So this should do it. I already put the piece in there, and even without this, it was holding just fine. So I'll clean that out tomorrow and get it working. Got to sometimes come up with a solution when something bad happens. Well, it's not pretty, but it's done. All right, the two are done. Bandsaw took a little longer than I expected, but just monkey around with that one little part and got that finished. But at the end of the day, we've got two machines that are functioning beautifully now. Like, look at the fence on this thing, and everything's nicely in line. I've ripped and cut things, and if I want it 2 inches, it's exactly set for 2 inches, and the motor and everything are working completely fine. So I put a new capacitor on this motor because it wasn't functioning, and I had to monkey around with that block on the bottom. But at the end of the day, I got a few hours into this. It's in my spare time doing it, and it's just fun to do. But I'm coming to realize that there's a lot of equipment out there that's in people's garages and shops and things that if let's say they're slightly broken, it just gets left. It sits in a corner and nobody touches them anymore. And eventually people get tired of it. And in a sense, they throw it out, kind of like this. Like, we're talking $120 for 2 machines. And, but it shows you what you're capable of doing if you just take a look around. Like, look on Facebook Marketplace or whatever is in your area. Like, obviously in this area, there's quite a bit of machinery just because it's a larger metropolitan area. But look around your area, and there's always somebody that's willing to get rid of something, and you can repair these things for next to nothing and build yourself a workshop for, you can literally put a workshop together for $1,000 easy with used equipment, and you can get some pretty darn nice working things. Like this machine here, it's a contractor style table saw. It's not a cabinet saw, but it'll do exactly what you want it to do now that everything's tuned up properly. Same thing with a bandsaw. It's not the best bandsaw, but it'll cut circles and do any kind of curves that you want. And at the end of the day, does it matter? All you needed to do it is to work. So anyways, hopefully this is helpful, but it maybe just encourage you to go out and build yourself a workshop, not with buying new stuff, but getting used stuff and get a great bargain. All right, have a good one.